You want to see me in it?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's up to you. Tyrone, will you shut my door if you don't mind? Will you shut my door if you don't mind? Thank you. All right, y'all. So the purpose of our meeting today is to discuss AVID strategies, discuss hands-on learning day, which is going to be on September 29th, discuss field trips, and then create a common assessment per subject area for the second quarter. Our active participants that are here today, we have Ms. Audrey Brown, Mr. Norman Carter, Ms. Christine Burke, Ms. Stephanie Morris, and myself, Sabrina Williams. All right, old business, y'all. 9 weeks test we were just talking about. So 9 weeks test, make sure today you should have given first and third. Tomorrow is second and fourth. And then if you have any students that were not here, makeup exams are Thursday and Friday. Yeah, I got the dates right. Yeah, Thursday and Friday. So make sure they get their exams taken this week. Grades are due on the 29th, so next week by 4 p.m. The same day as hands-on learning. And then quarter one ends on September 30th. I also received an email from Mr. McMillan. I'm going to assume all of you were on that email as well, unless anybody is going through formal, which I think he would still be your evaluator. He wants us to make sure we have our SLO stuff put into SE Lead by Friday. And then conferences will begin next week. So he'll probably email or reach out to you individually in order to set up those conferences. If you need any help getting into SE Lead or looking at your SLO stuff, let me know. I have not submitted mine yet, but I have started to formulate mine. So I've gotten my scores together and set my targets and things of that nature. I just haven't uploaded it or submitted it yet in SE Lead. Also, make sure that when you do your SLO, you also do your professional goal. Because if you do one or the other, he's going to reach out and tell you got to do the other one as well. So in both sections in SE Lead, make sure you fill out the SLO itself and then your professional goal for the year as well. All right. Any questions on benchmarks or grades or SLOs?
My thing is, there are 3 students who sat the exam this morning, and they spent most of the time actually sleeping. And when I check on the results, the report today, the results basically, I'm seeing they did not submit, even though like 15 minutes before the time, I asked them, I said to them, make sure everyone submits. So I'm saying for them, I think they should get a 0.
No, I would give them a 0. Because what's going to happen is
they're going to go home and probably get help from Google or something.
I mean, I would give them a 0. I told mine, like, you can't start and then stop. You have to do this in one sitting. I mean, most
because
people.
They're not students with any form of.
Yeah, they don't have an IEP where you have to give them extended time.
They just decided to sleep.
Yeah, no.
Just change the code and they won't be able to get back
in. Yeah, you can change the code, or you can, when you go to Mastery Connect, it'll say like test ID, and you can reset.
Because I had all 12 students for my first login class.
You can also go in and submit their test so that it goes in for whenever it is.
You could do that too.
You could do that. You just use their student ID and the student test and just submit it. So the data's in there because they probably have done some of it.
Yeah.
So I would just submit it the way it is.
Or you leave it alone, because what's going to happen is when it goes to the TE21 and they redo it, whatever wasn't submitted, they will not make a score for it. So you'll be forced to put a 0 in anyway.
Okay.
Unless they submit something, TE21 doesn't have our rosters. They just look at what was submitted and then they give us a score based on that data. So if there's no submission, it's an automatic 0 when you go to put it in the grade book.
Okay.
Because if they try to go back in, like say next week, for example, and they try to do it past the makeup window anyways, it won't get to them. So it won't be calculated. We had that happen to a couple of students last year. They didn't do it in that testing window. Then they did it later, but I still couldn't give them a score because we don't have a way to do the calculations that they do. So, I mean, that's really the 2 options. You can go in and submit it for them if they've done anything. I mean, if they slept the whole time, they probably didn't do anything anyways. Just change the code, let it write out. If they ask if they can retake it, no.
Okay.
If you slept during the exam window, you don't have any accommodations, it's a 0.
Okay.
I mean, it is up to you. I mean, you can reach out to the parents and, say they slept through it, and the parents may ask you if they can retake it, but I mean, and that's up to you. I wouldn't if it were me though. I mean, you sleep through the exam, you slept through the exam. There's nothing I can do for you. All right, so field trip discussions, we've kind of already talked about them a little bit. I've talked with you all, the U.S. history teachers, about Savannah, Georgia. I'm going to reach out to when I don't have so much going on. Trying to get through this district rally, y'all, at SGA. But I'm going to reach out and see if there's a way that we could tour that museum without the bar part being open, the speakeasy, so that we don't have that issue of kids are being in the museum with alcohol. So I'm going to reach out to them in the coming weeks, and I'm going to let y'all know, because we were going to plan that for February, March anyway. So we got a little bit of time, a little bit of wiggle room with that one. But I would like to do a Charleston trip, maybe in November or early December. Honestly, so EOC for me is going to be December 7th, which is early, but nonetheless. So it would be nice if maybe we could do it after the EOC. But then we've got exam week. So I'm not sure how that would work out. So that's something that we would have to look at with the dates and with field trips. But I'm thinking for Charleston, it would be for U.S. history and maybe like Fort Sumter, because we should be coming up to around the Civil War around that time. Fort Sumter and maybe, the CARES right, I didn't too much think the kids got anything out of it, but there's plenty to do in Charleston. Maybe the Yorktown. But I think we can definitely look into that if that's something that I think that y'all have both agreed with me on that for field trips. For U.S. history and government, I was thinking the South Carolina State Museum in Columbia, which should be a short little drive down there. The admission is like $13, so it's not horrible. And then I was thinking we could do lunch in Columbia and then maybe go to the State House. Maybe reach out to Senator Fanning, see if there's a day that he could get us in there and he could maybe give us a tour of the building. But I think that would be awesome for government and for, even though y'all will technically be in economics by then, but you would have had the same students. So, or if y'all prefer that, we could maybe push that to like January when y'all get your new government students.
Yeah, because guys did some weird things. Yeah, I have some of his kids.
It's the same period.
Yeah. I think I have some of his kids, second quarter that I didn't have first quarter.
Weird.
It is.
So we
If
can,
they're the same,
yeah.
if they're the same block though, they need to go back to him.
Yeah, so let's do this. Can y'all print your rosters for me?
I can't get to it, but
You can't see it? Okay.
Second weeks.
So I will reach out then to Miss Courtney and see what we can do, because you should have the same kids for the part. Unless it was like like a really schedule change like the career center. But for quarter classes, that shouldn't be an issue. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a student I have to work with something with. I'll be back.
Okay, all right. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, they should be able to move that. So we'll talk to Miss Courtney about that and get that switched, because that just doesn't make a lot of sense. But what are y'all's thoughts? I know y'all are good for the field trip, but what are y'all's thoughts as the government teachers? Are y'all okay with that? Would y'all prefer we maybe do it in January, February, so that you have government students?
yeah, I think the new semester would be better.
Okay. What do you think, Ms. Carter?
So do y'all, doesn't matter to me.
Mr.
I
Carter?
ain't big on field trips, so I don't bother with that. But I'll go and chaperone and help, but
I mean, it's a 1-to-20 ratio. So if we only took one bus, we're limited to like 40, 45 kids anyways. If we take two buses, that's about 80 kids. So we only need 4 chaperones. So technically, if you wanted to stay back, you could.
Yeah, you could stay back with the ones that
That
don't
are
wanna
going
go.
on the trip.
that's even worse. I'll see, I haven't been to the State House in a while, but yeah, January, I mean, well, when was this trip you was planning? Even if we in econ, it's still, we can still take these kids, they know more than these younger kids, these second semester kids, they would know some of it.
Well, here's what I'll do then. I'll look at kind of the timeline we've got left, because we only got, we got 9 weeks left, but we got testing coming up and all of that. So I'll look at our time frame and I'll reach out to the museum as well as to the State House to see, because I know you've got to call the State House to get like a reservation type thing to where you can go. The museum's basically open every day, but I'll look at their exhibits, because they have changing exhibits too. So maybe their exhibit, they have might be different, and we'll see which one I guess works best for us. So I'm gonna look into that. Y'all give me about a week and a half, and then I promise I can dedicate my time and efforts to figuring out these field trips. And then I was gonna ask Ms. Bush about any trips that she may have planned for world history, but she is not able to join us today, so I will follow up with her at a later date. Anybody got any other ideas for field trips that you think that we might be able to take our kids on, or you would like to take our kids on? I know, Ms. Brown, you had mentioned Atlanta with the Civil Rights Museum, but I'm kind of hoping that it opens up in Charleston in January and we can utilize that and maybe switch to Savannah and Charleston and utilize it, because I think that would be awesome. If we already want to go to Charleston, then we can do Fort Sumter and then the Civil Rights Museum, which would be good because it's supposed to open in January and we'll be talking about civil rights around February, March, April. So if we could plan a trip for in that time period, that would be wonderful. What about you, Mr. Carter, Ms. Moore?
I mean, DC is the place to go for government, but I know that ain't the trip.
It's just so expensive.
Yeah, that ain't the trip.
And going out of state and overnight, you've got to get board approval. So it's a little bit more difficult to get those trips approved.
Hey, bow tie goes, we should be able to.
Well,
That's
but that's a whole other can of worms I ain't even trying to open.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can look into DC. I've looked into it in a couple of years, and I get all kinds of mail about it, like from Explorica and World Travelers. But they want like $400 or $500 a student for 2 nights and 3 days, and our kids are not going to be able to afford that. Even if we started fundraising now, it just wouldn't happen. I mean, they take trips here. They go to Oklahoma for 5 days and only pay $60. Like, to tell them they got to pay $400 or $500, it just wouldn't happen. I mean, we might could talk to the board, and see if we can get the school district to kind of pay into it too, but we would really have to have a solid reason as to why we're taking that trip. So we might need to table that one and discuss that one a little bit later. But I'm with y'all. It's a possibility. I understand the logic behind it. Any other trips before? So you think about any trips or anything? No.
There's a museum that we have right here in Winsboro too, the Fairfield County Museum.
The city museum, I know what you're talking about.
They just did a whole bunch of stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
museum.
And I just got something about it, last week.
They're working to try to get the ancestral history of the African American community here in Winsboro too. Like, that's one of their big things, is helping families from Winsboro trace back their ancestry.
Is a museum here?
It's downtown.
Where?
Now that part I'm not sure. I do know there's one, but where is that? I'm not sure.
It's basically almost right down the bottom of this hill and to the left.
Ain't nothing but houses right there. Interesting. All right, so I want to share an admin strategy with you all that I found. I follow this lady. Her name's Amanda, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Sandoval, maybe, on Twitter. She's a teacher in California.
I've heard of her.
She's awesome. Like, she is like a techie person, and she incorporates technology into her lessons. So I've actually found some stuff with Gilded Age and everything, and I'm really excited. But she shares out her stuff for free on Twitter, and I was able to save it to my drive. And I've used a couple of these in the last week or two, but the added strategy that I found that I wanted to share with you all, and I've used it in my class last week, and it worked out well, is a Frayer model. So vocabulary, obviously, that's part of Avid, and Wicker is pushing for vocabulary, especially when it comes to reading and writing. And so I was having my students do the Frayer model, but as you can see on my board, so I was giving the kids a word, and then from that word, they were finding the definition, making connections, a picture in a sentence. But then I realized this needs to be more beneficial to them because they're just doing one word, and I don't have time for them to do all 13 to 15 words a week. And then I found this, and I thought this was awesome. So I wanted to share it with you all. So it plays into Wicker because they're going to be writing. Inquiry, they need to research the definitions and find the connections. Collaboration is a group prayer model, so you put the students into groups and you have them all collectively work on this one presentation to get the project done. Organization, it organizes it by word, and then reading, of course, you've got to read to find the information. So it meets all of our Avid Wicker points, but I wanted to show it to you all just so you can see it, and then maybe you could use it in your classrooms. Of course, you don't have to. But what I want to start doing in our department meetings is you have the book is either somebody volunteering or if I have to assign somebody to share a strategy with us each department meeting that we may could use. We did this last year. I think it worked out really well. So I want to bring that back. But I didn't want to just throw it at y'all. I did it myself so that I could just kind of show y'all, and I didn't want to just be like, hey, Ms. Brown, I need you to have an Avid strategy by tomorrow. That wouldn't be fair to y'all. But I did like this, like I said, it worked in my classroom, so I did want to share it with you. So basically, I just created a copy so that I can edit it for what I needed. We did it on constitutional convention. So my topic of study, I changed it to the Constitution. But I like it because it's got the directions and everything. So it shows the students exactly what they need to do. It was also good because, you know, I have virtual students, and my virtual students were able to collaborate with my in-person students because it was a document and it can be shared. And you, right, no matter where you're at, everybody can be working on the same document at the same time. But basically, you start off, each team member picks a color. So if they try to skip ahead and like, oh, what's the color or whatever, and so they look and they're like, oh, I want green, that's the picture. So you can let them think that. But every slide is different. So the green for the next slide might be picture, but for the next slide is definition. For the next slide is the make connections. So each team member picks a color, and then as you go through it, each team member does their color for each slide. So you can go in and you can put the words in as the teacher and then share that out to your students, or you can have them do it too. But as they go through it for every word, they have to fill in the box for themselves. So at the end, they all have all of the words, a Frayer model for every word. The students can access it because now they've created the file. You as a teacher can give a project grade, a classwork grade, a participation grade, however you want to grade it. But this makes sure that the students have to apply something with every single word. So I liked it, and I always like when it's already made for me and it doesn't require any much effort from me. And then it's got how to turn it in. So I really liked it. That was something I wanted to share with you all. I sent you the link in your email so that you have it. But if you're interested in like these other things that she has, I have no problem. Well, you should be able to access it because I put it in my shared folder for U.S. history. But if you all would like access to it as well, she did plenty of things. Like I did a dinner table activity with my honors class last week. They had to sit the presidents beside each other and say what they would talk about. So it was interesting. We did antebellum presidents. And so that worked out well. I did a playlist with my honors class as well. But there's so many different templates that you can use with this. I've seen a Bill of Rights. I thought that would be great for government. She's already got it made out with fact or fiction. And so all you have to do is answer fact or fiction for it. But she's got a lot of different little things, so I did want to share that with. Oh, I did a roadmap for the Constitutional Convention, and I think I shared that with Ms. Brown and Ms. Burke as well. And it worked out for the students. So this is just something that you have access to that if you want more information on, or we can work through it together. Because I'll be honest, there were some times when I clicked on it and I was a little confused myself, and I was like, okay, I got to figure out how this will work for my classroom. But if it's, like there's something on there that you're interested in, I have no problem sitting down and collaborating, and maybe we can come up with some ideas together as to how we can incorporate it in our classroom. So that is the Avid strategy that I wanted to share with you all today. Does anybody want to volunteer to share an Avid strategy with us next week? I think last year we started with like alphabetical order because nobody was really gung-ho, but you're going to do it? All right, so Ms. Brown, next week I'll put that on the agenda. You're going to share an Avid strategy with us. And what I did was this week I tried to find something dealing with organization, since August and September were organization, our focus for the school. So if you want to find something on organization that you can share with us all, that would be great. All right. Also, let me pull my agenda back up since I couldn't print it today. All right, hands-on learning. I know, Ms. Morris, you have what you want to do for government. You're still doing the teddy bears, right? I mean, the gummy bears where they're going to form their, that is so cute, by the
I'm
way.
doing it for World too, because we're past absolute numbers, so I can circle back.
Okay, awesome. So, would you like to share with everybody what you're doing, or you want me to share it? But okay, she's doing. It's really cute. So, I'm ordering her gummy bears for her classroom. So every student's gonna get a pack of gummy bears, and they're going to set up using the gummy bears how that different government would look. So if it was a democracy, for example, they would show how a democracy would work, an absolute monarch, but they would lay it out with the gummy bears. And then at the end, of course, they get to eat their gummy bears. So I thought that was really cute. Once I can get the printer to work, I'm gonna print that card and get that bought for you so that they get here next week. U.S. history. We can talk more about this when we do our common planning here in a second about what we want to do for hands-on learning. I know for my honors class, I found a Gilded Age board game. So we're going to do some type of Gilded Age type things with that. And then for world history, you said you're going to do the gummy bears. Ms. Bush, is there anything that you need, like material-wise, that I need to buy? No, you're good? All right, Mr. Carter, are you good, or you need any supplies?
I'm good.
No? Okay. So that's just the biggest thing, and then when we common plan, if y'all want to discuss like what you're doing, it is not required that subjects have to do the same thing for hands-on learning day. You can do whatever you want as long as it's hands-on learning. I will just remind everybody in the admin hub, the lesson plan template has been posted. Make sure you complete the lesson plan template by tomorrow's deadline so that Dr. Schooley can approve it. And then if you come up with something and you need materials, just let me know ASAP so that I can get it ordered. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of a free-for-all. But if you want to collaborate or if you need ideas, we're all here to bounce those ideas off of each other if needed. Okay? So other than that, the last 20 minutes or so of our meeting, we're going to spend common assessment planning. We said as a short-term goal for our department that we wanted to create at least one common assessment per subject area created by the teachers that are teaching that subject area aside from the benchmark. We did not say exactly what type of common assessment, so I just kind of took the initiative to say that it could either be a quiz or a test. I'm not going to, require it to be a unit test or say, but some type of assessment with at least 10 questions, and it needs to have at least one of the power standards utilized for the assessment. So the way that we'll break up is we will do world history and government together. And then U.S. history, and then Ms. Burke, I'm just gonna have you come work with us in U.S. history. And then for world history, we'll allow Ms. Morris and Ms. Bush to handle that. Oh, you already did it. Awesome. Okay, did y'all use that convention so that everybody can find it? Oh, okay, great. So then y'all just need to do a U.S. government one then. Okay. All right, so then I will say that Ms. Bush, because your other one's a singleton, so you don't really have. So unless you want to stay and give advice or suggestions for any other common assessment, I would say that you're good to go then, because that's what we're going to spend the last 20 minutes of the meeting on. Aside from, before I let you go, does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for the good of the group or anything? No? Okay, well, then Ms. Bush, you're free to go then, since you've already done your common assessment. And the reason why I did that naming convention was just so everybody would know exactly what to look for under whoever's tracker. Whose tracker did y'all put it under?
It's under mine, but they can find it, that is copy piece what you had in this building.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So, oh no, that's just a vocabulary. Oh no, I got you. We're a small enough department where I can just kind of write it down. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so Ms. Morris and Mr. Carter, if y'all will get together and work on a common assessment for U.S. government. Well, no, I'm sorry, not U.S. government. Y'all need to work on economics because U.S. government won't be for second quarter. And then we'll get together and work on the common assessment for U.S. history. I'm going to stop. All right, so I was